My name is Kathiravan, and I checked All India rank 573 in the recently concluded civil services examination. This is my fourth attempt, and to start with my preparation journey, I started this preparation in the year 2019. I'm a graduate from civil engineering, and I completed it in 2019. To come into this journey, I had not much idea about this examination as a whole. And for one bit information and further is this live will be more in Hindi. So sorry, English, because I'm not comfortable with Hindi. So if it will be much easier to understand for both. So please adjust. Sorry. So after completing my degree, I started researching about this examination. Then I joined an institute. For me to know about this examination, it took around some 4 to 5, I will say 6 months roughly. So after that, I started only after completing my degree, I started writing. Sorry, I even started looking at this syllabus. So I was very new to the process, and so I was not aware of this process in my degree. So I have to clarify about that. So after that, I gave my first attempt in 2020. I didn't clear my prelims. 2020, there was very much little time for me, because once you know the process, 6 months in June, the exam you can't prepare it fully. So, but for luckily for me, the exam got postponed due to COVID. So after that, I tried to push my preparation, and I was able to give a satisfied prelims, but that was not enough. So I didn't clear that prelims. Then again, I sat for the examination in 2021. This year, there was not much change. Like, I will commit to my strategy later after my journey. In 2021 also, I was not able to give a satisfied attempt, so I didn't clear my prelims again. In 2022, there was only 6 months left between the results of 2021 prelims and the 2022 prelims. So I had to rush through a lot of things, change my strategy. And then in 2022, I was able to clear the GS paper, but I was not able to clear the qualifying paper. So there was another setback for me. And after that, I had a 1 year whole cycle which was waiting for me. So in 2023 was the first time I cleared my prelims. So after three and a half years of preparation, I was able to clear my first prelims. But after that, during the mains, this was my first mains, and I was able to clear mains with a comfortable mark. And in the meantime, I was also aware of the interview process, like both mains and the interview. Throughout my past three prelims, even though I was not clearing prelims, but I was aware, I was ready for facing mains at any point of time, because in 2023 and in 2022, and 22 and 21, I was very near in clearing the prelims. So automatically after my prelims attempt, I was ready to write mains, but I couldn't clear it. So after that, the mains after mains, I was not sure about my mains, because it's very tough, right? Because you have to be one amongst the 10 to clear mains. So after that, then the results came, interview call came, then I was very satisfied, because in interview, it is not a easy path, but it is something which you can easily approach, because you are going to express yourself. So in that process, it was I had 3 months time again, because my interview was in the last third phase. So I had around 3 months to prepare and give a lot of mocks, and to get feedback, be comfortable, to be honest. So it helped me to crack interview this time. And with regards to coaching for prelims cum mains, I did a general studies batch in Delhi, and then after that, for optional, I took a coaching, but I was not satisfied with it, because my optional is geography. With respect to geography, what is the issue is, it is a very vast syllabus, so any coaching can't do justice to the syllabus, completion of syllabus, and making it to the point. So with respect to optional, even though I took coaching, it was more of a self-study. The notes and the books, that resources that the institutes gave, helped me a lot in refining them and making my own notes, which I can understand. And with respect to test series, I did a lot of test series for prelims as well as for mains from a lot of institutes, especially the All India mocks for mains. I did a specific test series for mains as well as for the GS and essay as well as for the optional. I did two separate test series. So this is a whole of about my journey. With respect to my strategy, where should I begin? Let me start with the prelims. Prelims, there are two parts: general studies and CSAT. So two papers. Let me start with CSAT because CSAT is something very crucial for everyone. Since I've failed in CSAT, where many people didn't, like many people struggled in 2023. It was known as one of the toughest CSAT, but I failed in the 2022 CSAT. So what was my change in strategy, or what was my strategy towards CSAT, or an alarm which woke me up to prepare for CSAT was first is to know the concept, because in CSAT you're not expected to. There is no any cutoff. There is only 33% that is expected. That is 66.66 marks. So it's naturally 66 or 67 out of 200 marks, and you have 2 hours. So what is the issue with CSAT is people see CSAT as an individual paper, but not, no, because in the actual examination CSAT, you have to face CSAT after giving a GS paper. So you will physically as well as mentally will be drained after giving your GS. After that, mostly it happens around May and June before monsoons. It will be hot, and you have to wait for another 3 hours, and then you have to go on face CSAT. The paper also looks a bit tedious because you have a lot of reading comprehension. You have what is this? Like reasoning and max. So paper, it will automatically make your approach towards the paper tough. So what you have to do is, for CSAT, you have to be very clear about what you're going to attempt. That is, you have to attempt around 40 to 45 questions. That has always been my strategy. 40 to 45 questions, which you have to be sure about 90%. That is 35 to 40 questions. So what I used to do is, I was quite familiar with the reading comprehension. In my first 3 times, what I used to do is, I just go through the question wise, first question, second question. So effectively, I will just look around 40 to 45 questions in the entire paper, which failed me because in CSAT, what happens is, there are times where tougher questions, you will get tough questions in the first part. Easier questions will come at the last. So if you're not going to look at the entire paper, you will fall into trap of where you will be faced with toughest questions of the paper for around 1.5 hours, and in the last 30 minutes you will find easier questions, and the pressure and the stress will not help you to crack it as well. So what I changed in this CSAT is, I went for reading comprehension. So for reading comprehension, the best source is the previous year question, because what UPSC does is, they might change the paragraph, they might change the options, they might change the type of options that they're going to ask, but they're not going to change the trend. The language that the UPSC uses, or the pattern that the UPSC follows. The pattern I mean is the options. They're going to give you 3 very close options, one out of which only one is going to be right. So if you're going to solve a lot of previous year question for reading comprehension, it will help you. If it's not, it doesn't matter whether you are from an English background, or you have did arts, or you're from science background. It doesn't matter. Even if you're from CBSE, or you're from your state board, it doesn't matter. If you're going to follow the previous year question, that's very much enough for CSAT. Yes, maybe UPSC might change their trend, but they're not going to change the pattern that they're going to ask. So for CSAT, I would strongly recommend you to go through the previous year question. After that, you have to practice a lot of test series. For reading comprehension, you take every test series, you have to go through the that particular part in that particular any institute's paper. So go through them regularly, solve them, and then revise them again. So this will help your reading comprehension. With respect to reasoning and max, quantitative aptitude, both you can do it in a similar pattern, where you can start with previous year question. Then previous year question won't be suffice for this, because every year UPSC is having this notion where they are trying to improve the toughness of every topic. Like, for example, if you take quantitative aptitude, you have options like, you have topics like profit and loss, you have percentage, you have average, you have ratio and proportion. If you take and see the question paper of UPSC, every year they are trying to increase the toughness. Toughness means the type of question that they're going to ask. because the answer is ultimately there in the paper. You have to identify the answer. That is the challenge there. The type of questions and the time it takes, that is the next biggest factor in quantitative aptitude. Because a lot of people who I discussed with in the last attempt, they said that the CSAT was not tough, but it was very lengthy. So what happened is they couldn't crack the 40 questions in the given 2 hours. So what you have to do is you have to take the particular topic which you're comfortable with. For example, my quants was not that much good, but I was comfortable around topics like percentage, average, or profit and loss, or the ratio and proportion, or even the time, distance, speed. Those kind of questions I was comfortable with. I take those topics in my hand. Then I go for any standard resources. I went for the there's a famous book called, I'm not sure of the name, the Sharma book. Or you can go for a lot of books are there. In Arihant publication is there. And then you have even you can also go for your 11th. Even there are many are saying that UPSC is taking these questions from max NCERT, that is 11th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So you can also go for that, but that is not advisable. Or you can go for any coaching for CSAT is not advisable. There are a lot of free resources available in YouTube as well. I don't want to mention any particular channel's name, but there are a lot of resources. If you just want to put CSAT, they are solving previous year question and they're giving you trends that UPSC follows, and they will give you similar type of questions. So what happens is you will be comfortable with the CSAT even before you see the question paper. So once the question paper is given to you, just take the question paper, read every question. I would recommend you to read every 80 questions. Select questions which will consume less amount of time. For me, reading comprehension was very comfortable. I would solve all the 27 questions in 45 to 1 hour. Next 1 hour, I have to solve only 15 to 20 questions. So that's how CSAT should be played, because they're not expecting you to score 100 or 150 marks. They're expecting you to score only 67 marks, or in which you can easily score 80. So I guess CSAT, practice a lot, see previous year question, then take topic wise and analyze and see what is the toughness, what is the toughness it's going to be in the next year. So next, let's go to GS, general studies. General studies, I would start with my strategy with, I will start with books that I prefer. You have to look at the syllabus of UPSC. What are they asking? So syllabus is very simple. It's just some 5 to 6 lines they will give, but it's very tough to interpret, because history of modern India means it's everything. General science means it's everything, and then geography of the world, it means absolutely everything. So here, what helps us how to analyze what UPSC is expecting from us in this keywords is the previous year question. Previous year question, you go for last 25 years, last 30 years, because it's almost 2025. You can start from 1999, I would say. So last 25 years, there are a lot of publications, online repositories available where you can find the 25 years compilation. From where you have to see first, you have to see subject wise. If you're going to take history, take history, ancient history. What is the trend? Medieval history, or what is the favorite topics of UPSC? From previous year question, identify the favorite topics of UPSC. Then you have to go and study them. Your preference would be first them, and then in polity there are a lot of very simple questions coming from directly from NCERTs or from the constitution itself. So these are favorite topics of UPSC which you can't afford to make mistake. Then go for geography. Geography is also, UPSC tends to have this idea where they try to analyze, like they're not going to ask you direct questions. This direct question, it comes, but they want you to analyze, so they're going to give you a lot of statements. So in geography, UPSC tends to play with statements, but to understand the subject, you have to know the basics. So in the end, it goes back to basics. Same with science and tech. In general science, UPSC will ask questions. A lot of few times they asked about water, what like certain properties of water. These kind of questions also comes with respect to science and technology. The technology part, a lot of current affairs. Like UPSC has this trend of going through you have to go through newspaper. There is a lot of science articles which comes in newspaper, and UPSC picks certain technologies from newspaper. Or you have to go through the Nobel prizes that every year who gets what is the physics Nobel prize, what is the chemistry Nobel prize. So you have to study, like there are a lot of favorite topics for UPSC from communication. Gravitational waves get repeated. So for the trends, the favorite topics of UPSC, you have to go through the previous year question. Second is the book list. I would recommend everyone to start with NCERT. NCERT from 6th standard to 12th standard. Not for every subject, but for a few subjects, it's very much. First thing is geography. Geography, you have to go through 6th to 12th. 6th to 12th is not much tougher one to look into, because the length of the size of the book is very small. For us, it is not going to take much time, and I would recommend you to read 6th, 7th, and 8th in a very hurried manner, because there are not a lot of analysis is not there needs to no need to do analysis out of it. But starting from the 9th standard, there are a lot of informations are being given in the NCRTs, especially the 9th, the 10th, and coming to 11th and 12th. 11th, you have 4 books there. These 4 books will play you a major role in your prelims as well as in your mains. In mains, there are certain times like UPSC asks certain topics, but the base is there. Like, for example, the mountain building, the plate tectonics, or the volcanism. These kind of areas are basic. The basics of them are present in NCRT. For prelims, I would say NCRT is suffice, but since I am from geography optional, I didn't go for the another any other sources. But I would recommend you to, like, many people say that GC Leong is a very good source for geography, because one reason why GC Leong I have went through the book once is the compilation is very good. A lot of information is being brought into one particular book, so I would recommend you to go through GC Leong. Second is coming to polity. One main reason why polity is very important in UPSC is the weightage. If you have a look at the previous year questions, you will see the trends. Polity, the number of questions asked in polity will never come below 12, or most of the times it will be 15 even, 15 to 20 even. So what is interpreted here is polity is which something you can push your marks well above cutoff. Some of you might even give forest service, for which polity like subjects like polity will be very important. So polity helps you to push marks. So next, what you have to do is, for polity, I went through Lakshmikant. Lakshmikant was my only source for polity. But what happened for me is, in Lakshmikant, there are a lot of informations available. So you have to go study them again and again. So Lakshmikant only enough? I would say yes. But you have to make the process very easy. I would suggest you to read the NCRTs as well. The NCRTs, there are very like UPSC has this ability, like they have the ability to pick up certain very weird questions. Like, for example, during the one, like there was a question in polity where in how many constituencies a particular candidate can stand, and there was a specific mention of a particular member of the parliament. So these kind of questions, you could have not heard it unless you are sit and analyze India's political history. But these kind of questions were present. These kind of the name of that particular member was present in the NCRT. So that is the source for polity. So NCRT is the 11th and 12th, and also 10th. Not everything, but once you look into the previous year questions of UPSC, you will know, you will come to know that okay, NCRTs, this particular chapter will help me to score a particular mark. So I would suggest you to start with NCRT and Lakshmikant. Lakshmikant is very important. Like, you have, like, if someone is going to start UPSC, they are going to start with Lakshmikant. So Lakshmikant, I would recommend you to study frequently asked questions of UPSC, like fundamental rights. You can't say this is the only thing where UPSC asks, but I would say, like, these kind of parliament chapter, these kind of chapters are something which will the UPSC will trick. So I would suggest you to go. Then current affairs, UPSC polity based current affairs is nothing but something gets mentioned in the news, they ask questions. For example, presidential election, it happened a couple of years back. So there was a question last year based on presidential election. They asked a question on vote calculation. So analysis is very important as well. And second, there was a, in particular year, the government of India cancelled the MP local area development fund. So the MPLAD was reflected in UPSC. So these kind of things you have to notice while studying polity. You have to link your current affairs with the static part. So second, third is economy. Economy is also similar to polity, but what is the issue with economy is you have to understand the topic. There is no if you're going to go and sit and study and study and study, you will get marks. I'm not saying you won't get, but What UPSC is doing is they're tricking you with trends, they're tricking you with misplacing words. So these kind of things are expected in economy. So if you see the previous year questions, economy, a lot of famous topics like banking, fiscal policy, monetary policy, these kind of like current like CRR, SLR, and then India's external trade, current account deficit increases, decreases. What are the part of current account deficit? And what is the part of India's export and import? These kind of questions are the heroes of polity, I would say, economy, I would say. So for this, I would say start from 11th Introduction to Macroeconomics, that book. That is a very standard book for covering the entire economy syllabus, because in economy you have to understand the basics, because if you're going to skip the basics, you're going to suffer with the current affairs as well. At the same time, you're going to there are a lot of problems with respect to the trends, understanding the trends. Then economy, current affairs. Then I went with the book called Ramesh Singh. Ramesh Singh is quite popular with UPSC aspirants, but I would suggest for prelims, it is a very extensive resource. So what happens is when you're going to go for Ramesh Singh, I was recommended to select few topics that UPSC tends to repeat. For example, banking, monetary policy, external trade, then fiscal policy, then taxes, like direct tax, indirect tax, cess, those things are very well. Then inflation. Inflation is another topic which you can't afford to leave. These kind of topics are basic. What is the base year that government of India follows for calculating inflation? What is the trend? What is the formula that is used? That is CPI, WPI. Those kind of things are very well explained in Ramesh Singh. But there is also another book called Sankar Ganesh Karpaya. This book is also very to the point and very less. So I would suggest, if you want, this will also help you to write your mains answer writing as well in economy. So I would suggest more than NCERT. I went through these two books as well. So I would suggest you to do the same. And with respect to economic current affairs, you have to go through the budget 2000. If you're going to give prelims in 2025, 2024 budget is very important for you. The schemes mentioned there, the initiatives that the government brings, that's fine, but you have to go through the intricacies. What is happening? What is the trend? What is government of India did something to control inflation? What has the government of India is trying to do to support India's external uh, like trade? What is the India, like if India is, there is de-dollarization also happening. There is sometimes trade war also happens between China and US. Those kind of things India tries to address indirectly. Those kind of things are mentioned in budget and economic survey. Along with budget, India also releases economic survey. This economic survey is very essential for us to try and identify the trends, especially the agricultural trends. What is the crop? What is the crop area that has been covered in this particular year? What are the crops that are being planted this year? These kind of things are very important for economic current affair based question that UPSC might ask in economy. Then there are a lot of term, like what does this term means? Even last time they asked a particular mentioning a short term, and they try to ask you to explain what is this. So these kind of things also you can find it in economic survey most of the times. And any other current affairs sources, like that is fine for economy, any institutes material. And then for science and tech, I didn't go through the basics. I just went for some refined institutes material based on the NCRTs. But I would suggest you to look into the at least for biology, the 11th and the 12th NCRT is, even though it's very vast, I would suggest you to go through. Sometimes when people also say that 10th NCRT physics and all is fine, but UPSC is trying to do something, like they're concentrating more on the technology, the applied. So it is possible that reading NCRT might not help you, but since it is basics, many of us would have gone through these subjects or the topics in our school itself. So I would suggest you to go through NCRT, and then for science and technology in particular, reading Hindu paper is must, because in the Hindu, they give you a column called Science and Technology on Sundays. Every Sundays you receive a column. Reading that particular column for one particular year will give you around 52 columns, because this 52 in this 52 columns you will have around 10 informations. So around 500 newses will be there for Hindu from the Hindu itself. So see, if you take let's take 30-50% importance, like let's give 50%, around 250 important newses will be there for you. So it's almost like a current affairs compilation, the science and tech current affairs in that particular year. So the current affairs, what UPSC looks into is what is happening, what is in the news. It's not like what is happening in our daily life. And there are a lot of times UPSC also concentrates on what the government is doing. For example, our government is like, there are a lot of talks about renewable energy, like solar energy. So there are then we also have this new thing called hydrogen based fuel, electric vehicles. So these kind of things UPSC, they tend to check your science and tech perspective of government's initiatives. So these kind of things you can go through any current affairs material. So I didn't spend much in book reading for science and tech. Rather, I went through the previous year questions. I went through a lot of test series for science and tech, and analyzing the trends. For example, quantum computer, blockchain technology. These were favorite topic for UPSC in last 2 to 3 years. So I went for any particular material for that particular topic alone. I went through that. And then with respect to environment, let's come to environment is very essential, because as I mentioned, like polity and economy, environment also can boost your marks very high. For that, I went through the Shankar IAS Academy's environment book. That is one common source many of us follow. There is also another source called PMF IAS. PMF IAS, people who I know are recommending it to be in recent times. So I would say take one resource, go through all the topics, go through the syllabus, go through the previous question, complete it. Don't go for multiple resources. Just stick to one particular resources. And then current affairs and environment is very essential. National parks, and then we have every year there is a COP session that's going to happen. In that COP session, a lot of initiatives will come. India will pledge a lot. So what is India doing? What is world doing? What is the reports given by IPCC? These kind of current affairs are very important. So for current affairs, you can again go for newspaper reading, and any particular institute materials. And then summarizing the entire and there are also other gray areas like international relations, places and news. These kind of things are covered only by reading extensive newspaper. So let's come to current affairs part. For current affairs part, first is newspaper. Newspaper reading, what needs to be done is, there are a lot of information that been given in newspaper which you have to identify what UPSC likes, especially for in business column. There will be a lot of information like news articles about any company, a merger of a company trends, but you have to look at the intricacies. What is finance minister saying? What is external affairs minister saying? What is the Ministry of Commerce is saying? So these kind of news come in business. There might be some data about taxes. There might be some data about GST. What is the GST return in the particular year for India? So these kind of trends you can identify in newspaper. And just I would recommend, don't keep a static note. Write those in a newspaper. Keep updating in every 2 to 3 months. There will be news about it. So these kind of things you can do for current affairs from newspaper reading. Second is the editorial part. Editorial part, even though it's more important for mains, which I will come later in the discussion. For prelims, you have to know what is being discussed, because in 2021 there was 2 questions. One was from the Olympics. In Olympics, they tried to introduce few new games, as well as they changed the motto of the Olympics. But that was not present in anywhere in the any current affairs materials. But there was an editorial which discussed about that particular thing in Olympics. So from there, UPC directly asked a question. Then there was another question. Recently, Government of India changed the name of Khel Ratna Awards, Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award. The discussion about this, what was the history, all these things were discussed in one particular editorial. So the question was directly reflected from there in 2023 prelims. So analyzing certain particular changes or any important events that is happening around the world is essential, because UPSC is trying to not just concentrate on academic perspective. They're trying to bring in a holistic perspective in their question paper. So reading editorials is very essential for that. And then compilations. I went through one particular institute's monthly current affairs for all my prelims. I went through the same. And before 2 to 3 months before prelims, you receive this. I went through this data called PT 365 from Mission. This PD 365 helps us to identify what are the major themes that has happened in the last particular year. It helps us to revise. It helps us to compile. And with respect to notes, for note making with respect to UPSC prelims, I didn't do much because NCERT history. For history, I went through this ancient India NCERT, medieval India NCERT, and for modern India, I went through Spectrum. So everything is compiled to one particular book. So I don't want to make note out of it. I just go through the book and revise them. With respect to prelims, what is more important is your resources should be limited, and you have to have a stronghold about previous year question. Now I will address two major things with respect to prelims itself. One is uh, revision. What happens in revision is once you study a particular topic, you have to go through them on a daily basis. Sometimes morning you will study a polity, and then after that you will switch on to some other topic. But at the night, what I used to do is whatever I've studied, I just try to process them in my mind, and I take a previous year question and see if there is any reflection of that particular topic in the previous year question. I solve them, and then on the weekends I just take again the particular book. I just go through, okay, what I've studied, is there any any doubts that is occurring to me from the topics which I've studied. And then with respect to the final revision before mains, before the prelims, the last 2 to 3 months is where you will encounter a final revision. At that point of time, you have to be very clear about what is the topics that you have covered very well. What is the topics we need to take a lot of interest or understanding is needed for you. Those kind of topics you can. I used to note in my book itself. I used to take them. For example, for modern history, I have the issue with respect to the for independence, like before 1935 to 1947 period. There are a lot of data involved around it. A lot of lot of committees will be formed. A lot of plans. A lot of things will happen. I had very tough time in remembering the same. So what I used to do is I revise them before the exam. So if you have any difficulties with one particular subject, you can do the same. And the second, which I have to discuss, how to go through the previous year question, because previous year question, if you're going to sit and take a particular question, if you're finding the right answer, that's not going through the previous year question. What you have to do is you have to take the previous year question. You have to see that theme. What is the theme that is UPSC has asked? This will help you to identify what is going to come in the future, because with the past you have to work in the present to identify the future. That is how you have to use previous year question. And the previous year question, you have to look at the options that is being asked, because all the options are not going to be there without any reason. There needs to be some reason, so that UPSC has taken a keen interest about that particular question, and they've given an option in such a way that people need to do mistake. Because with respect to prelims, UPSC is trying to eliminate you, because out of 5 to 6 lakhs people who are giving in, around for 13 or 14,000 people are going to write main. So UPSC is trying to eliminate you. So they're going to give you some tricky options. So seeing options will help you familiarize with the language that UPSC uses. So when you get familiar with the language that UPSC uses, you will automatically feel the same thing when you see your actual examination. Okay, UPSC has used this option. This can't be right. There are a lot of YouTube videos also which addresses this same. So you can go through them as well. And with respect to practice, I also use this previous year questions in another manner, where when I went for 2020 prelims, I took the 2019 paper fresh, like no divisions or based on the subjects. I took the entire paper, sat around 9:30 the 2 days before. So if prelims is on Sunday, I take it on Friday. I sit on the particular 2 hours. I solve them, even though I know the answer. I didn't bother about it. I sat down, because I need to have the exam feel with the UPSC question paper. So this is how I also use the UPSC previous year question, taking one particular paper and solving them, all the 100 questions together. It will familiarize you. It will help familiarize you. And before going for the actual exam, if you go through this kind of experience, it will enrich you. It won't be the actual exam won't be something new. It will be just your another exam. If you're going to give some, I used to give full length tests around 10 to 12 tests. So when I go and give the UPSC exam, it won't be my first exam. It will be my 11th exam. So that is how I used to practice. Every Sunday I go give a mock. So if it is this is today is a Sunday, and this is the time where UPSC mocks happen for the upcoming examination. So I used to go visit various institutes. I give mocks on every Sunday. So this is how we have to plan. Rather than giving the institute mocks, you can use the previous year questions in this manner as well. You can consider one particular previous year question paper as a mock and give them. Even though you know the answer, that is not an issue. Just sit and give that. This helped me in familiarizing with the topic. So this is what I have with respect to prelims, from the strategies which I followed. With respect to mains, my mains, since I've given only one particular mains, I didn't develop an extensive strategy for that. I just took the best practices from the toppers, and then I tried to implement the same. With respect to the preparation, my preparation in 2019 as well as in 2020, I started with the mains preparation. Like I took notes from the classes which I attended for the GS, and then came back home. I went through the previous year question. I used to, whatever topics that are being covered on a particular day, if there is any previous year question, I write it the answer. So my first answer was very worse, because I, for 150 words, I wrote around some 200 250 word kind of answer, because I couldn't comprehend it. So it doesn't come on one particular on your first day. The same thing happened for around some 15 to 20 days. I won't complete the answer in the given time frame as well. I used to take 12 to 13 minutes for writing a 150, like 10 marker. That is very huge. So then what happens is I go through. I didn't like. There is no other option. You have to keep writing. With once you start writing, that is when your time frame reduces, as well as your comprehension skill increases. So with practice, I was able to limit my content. I was able to enrich different, like giving a lot of perspectives to any particular topic. For example, if science and tech is being asked, UPSC is not expecting you to write completely science-based answer. They're expecting you to give a policy initiative. For policy initiative, for example, let's take electric vehicle. If you're going to try write about a electric vehicle has this the capacity, the charging capacity, the storage capacity. If you're going to give something about the cleanliness of it, the recycle capacity, all these, like the resource what India is having, what is India is exporting. These are one particular perspective. If you're going to give a policy perspective, for example, with respect to electrical vehicles, it creates a crowding in effect where charging stations are going to come. It is a new investment. A lot of people are going to buy new cars, so the old cars needs to be taken care of. So this is a challenge that we have. So these kind of our approach gives you a all-round capacity to write an answer. So this is what I concentrated more on when I started writing my answer, especially with respect to GS3, because GS3 is one of the toughest paper, and there are a lot of trends and topics available with it. So let me start from GS1 itself. In GS1, my geography optional, so I didn't spend much time in that. With respect to history, art and culture is like, it's not a history; it's something related to Indian art and culture. Questions come. Further, I followed a book called Nitin Singhania. Nitin Singhania also helps you in prelims, but in recent times, it is not being much importance for prelims. But for mains, Nitin Singhania is very essential for topics like Buddhism, Jainism, and dance forms, music forms, literatures, religions. So the architecture, like architecture, a lot of architectural marvels. For like in recent time, in last year, they asked a question about how India's geography influenced India's ancient history. If you go through the architectural styles, if you go through the locations of these buildings, you can automatically frame a question, like frame an answer for that particular question. So this is how we have to read. You have to give importance. If they are going to read the architecture, don't just read the architecture. You have to read where it is located and why such architecture format is followed. So this will help you to face any kind of question that you face in an actual examination. And with respect to society and Indian society, I went through institute. I went through an institute note. I didn't have any particular resource for it. I just went through the basics. And for datas, you have a lot of repositories present, especially the government websites, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. You can go and collect data with respect to minorities. You can go and collect data with respect to differently able people from ministry of the same ministry. And then we have Ministry of Rural Development, where you can identify issues that rural areas face, and Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, where you can find data about what is the urban landform, what is the urban data of India, and then you also have employment data. For all these, I went through the ministries. One, you can do two things. One, you can go for the particular ministry's website and download the annual report. Second is go for PIB. In PIB, every year, every ministry gives you an annual report. So this annual report helped me to gather data. So data is very important in society, because that's when your answer gets enriched. And with respect to GS2, Polity, again, Lakshmikant. For Polity, apart from Lakshmikant, what I did is I took previous year question, identify what is the theme that UPSC is asking. UPSC in recent times are asking you to mention case laws in the question itself. In past, what happens is you have to give case laws to justify your answer. But now case laws is an essential part of the answer. So what you have to do is gather case laws. So what are the issues? If issue of women, what is the Supreme Court judgments available? If there is an issue on gender, fine. The second is now recently there are a lot of debates about uniform civil code. What is the Supreme Court's observation on the same? So if you're going to expect an answer question on uniform civil code, is writing about uniform civil code, writing what is constitution is saying, it won't suffice. You have to go through Supreme Court judges. What is different? What are the committees that the government of India has formed to address this same? So these kind of things will help you to identify various like, or it will give you an option to give variety to your answer. So this is one. Second is governance. For governance, I didn't go through. I had my own notes based on the classes which I have attended. Apart from that, I would also recommend you to read the second ARC Commission report on various recommendations from Sarkaria Commission, Punchi Commission. These kind of recommendation will not just give you topic like pointers to fill a paper, but they will give you a structure. If you take second ARC and you're going to see reforms for corruption, they will second ARC starts from corruption and why corruption is happening, and then what needs to be done. Who, like, it brings in a lot of stakeholders. So taking official reports will help you refine your answer. So go for second ARC. And then in the last 3 months, since I didn't have much time, I needed a quick revision note. So for that, I downloaded some, I'm not sure about the name of the PDF, but from Mission IAS website, I identified a governance notes which was available. So I went through important topics like e-governance, data governance, good governance, this kind of information. I went through that PDF. I made short notes. In governance, what you can do is in answer writing, rather than just writing a plain answer, you can bring in pictorial representations. For example, flowcharts. These flowcharts won't work in many parts in our mains writing, but in governance, it will help you. It will help you fill a lot of space. At the same time, it will try to it will help you convey what you wish to convey. So, for example, what is good governance? You can make a flow chart. You can draw a diagram, like a step-by-step process. Those kind of flowcharts are very essential in governance. And then with respect to social justice, again, I went through institute notes, and social justice, again, you can go for data, go for any particular institute, like Mains 365, there is a compilation of data. Or once you have to make a basic notes, go for institute website, like website of Government of India, Ministry of Social Justice, see the syllabus, what is UPSC is asking. For each topic, try to make a note, have a data for every, by backing them. Second is like, and then international relations. International relations is institutions that is coming up. There are a lot of agreements that's being signed. If you look at the trends, UPSC recently asked something called International Maritime Organization. Many people didn't have any clue about it. But where are they? First is the current affairs. For international relations, that's why I would say follow up the current affairs. Take Hindu newspaper, read the editorials. There was an editorial about International Maritime Organization 2 years back, and UPSC reflected the same in last mains. So, and then there are a lot of debates about a lot of institutions happen, IPCC, ILO, uh, even WHO, there are a lot of issues. World Bank, there are a lot of issues. So these kind of, you have to go through the institutions first. What are the global institutions? And what is India doing? India, you have to go through your circle. First, neighbor circle. what is India having in its neighbor, what are the issues, border issues, and then what is the institutions what are present here, what are the groupings that are SARC, then you have BIMSTEC, then extended neighbors like East Asian and West Asian relations, India and Iran, India and Israel. What is India doing with the Quad? Quad comes under this extended relationship because even though it's based on USA, it is focusing on Indo-Pacific. And then India now recently signed something called with the I for I guess I2U2 I guess with Israel, US, and UAE. These kind of institutions you have to have rough pointers. And then Central Asia. What is the importance of Central Asia? There are a lot of agreements with Central Asia as well, which connects India and Europe. And then recently in G20, India signed something called India IMEC, I guess, some corridor between India and Europe. So these kind of things are present in newspaper. So first I would say newspaper. Second is for international relations. I went through a website called ORF Online, Observers Research Foundation. Whenever I find some free time, I take open their website. I go through certain articles because this will help me and enrich my answer. And with respect to global affairs, even recent times in international relations, UPSC is asking something which is not related to India because NATO expansion of NATO is happening. That was a question in last mains. But there are certain interests for India in that as well. So that is what UPSC is concentrating. So after that, do this. So since this is my first mains, I didn't have an extensive strategy for that. I just wanted to do things which work for others. With respect to GS3, it is again very varied. Go for environment. What I said for in prelims, it's do the same environment, science and tech. Then you have disaster management. There is something called in NDMA, National Disaster Management Agency, or the NDMA website is there where you can go and collect a lot of information. You can, for a disaster management, make a note. What are the types of disaster present? NDMA website is very essential for it. Second is internal security. Internal security is another new topic here. With respect to internal security, I went through my institute notes, and then there is a every year Ministry of Home Affairs releases a report. That report is very essential. It gives you a lot of data. It gives you a lot of specific pointers which you can use in your answer writing. So, and there are a lot of committees. With respect to GS3, I used to have around some 50 to 100 committees. Like wherever I see, I just write them in my own particular note, and which I used to revise them before going to exam, because in GS3 you have to give a wider perspective and you have to substantiate your answers. So I used to go with data as well as the committee recommendation. For example, if you're going to ask the questions in railways, you have go for Bibik Broy committee. For every topic there are committees. So I would suggest you to keep a particular track for GS3 alone, because GS3 is very varied and there are a lot of dimensions present in one particular paper. That is why if you see the marks as well, the marks tends to be very low for GS3. Coming to GS4, ethics is something which you have to keep on practicing, because in my mains experience, I was not very much good in ethics. If I had, even before going to mains, I had a lot of issues with ethics. So what I did was I kept on writing, especially case studies. So what I would recommend you to do for ethics is keep one particular resource. For example, look like ethics. There is one particular, I'm not sure, lexicon was the major source for ethics. I follow the same. But in recently there is one book called Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude by Karthikeyan. It is quite famous. Tata McGraw Hills, I guess. So that book gives you an extensive coverage of the syllabus. What you have to do is you have to write a lot in ethics. Go and write, talk with your mentor, ask him to analyze, because in ethics the score can be maximized. People get 140, 150 in ethics, but it also improves your rank. So for ethics, keep writing. For case studies, keep writing. Identify a lot of examples. See in newspaper. Go for, like, what I used to do is I used to go for toppers copy. The toppers copy, they used to have some ready-made answers, ready-made examples. I just take those examples because they have identified those examples somewhere, and just take, like, I'm just doing a shortcut here. This is completely because it is in online, and I was taking the example from them. And sometimes what happens is when I see their papers, I get an idea how to find examples. Okay, this is how they're doing. So I also have to want to identify examples from here. This kind of things helps you a lot. And then with respect to codes, code-based questions and all, we can go for the same book I mentioned. The name of the author is Karthikeyan. That particular book helps you a lot with respect to these kind of codes-based questions and giving a statement. Then about a particular thinker, this book helps you a lot. I would recommend you to practice a lot, write a lot for a lot, at least for ethics, because in ethics you have to be ready in the particular exam. You can be ready because you know what question is going to be asked, so for that you can be ready. So that is one thing. Second, last is essay is the same with respect to ethics. What I did, mistake I did was, in my 4 years of preparation, in the first 3 years I would have written only 5 essays, because I was not sure about the prelims. So why should I care about essay? Was the biggest mistake I did, because once you are ready with the pattern that you're going to write, the flow in essay, the writing flow is very essential. So if you're going to identify that flow, then uh, it is very easy for you to fill, because content is easily available, but getting the flow to write an essay is very tough. So first, I would recommend you to identify a particular previous year question, write them, get evaluated, compare your essay with some essays which are available online itself. So then, which will help you to enrich your writing style. That was very tough for me to find in the last 3 months, because once the prelims results were out, I had to concentrate on my optional, then my GS and essay, which is very tough. So what I did was, essay I had to stick to minimum. So that reflected in my marks as well. It was very low. So what I would suggest is, essay, try to find a flow. Like, what is your introduction? What is your body going to look like? Because two essays are going to be there. You have to write two essays. In two essays, you can't repeat the same. So what is your flow is going to look like? So identify, do the same, and then go for identify examples. What are you going to insert? What is the theme you're going to write? For many people, go with this theme called, first they are going to write polity, like societal, political, economical, environmental, scientific. Those kind of things are there. Others, many people, even I don't go. I don't go through the same. I go through a narrative kind of essay. Like, I just like, what is this? Why is this? Then who, when who is this? Then what is the like, how, like, these kind of narratives I go through. So that is how I build my flow. But I found it very difficult. It was not easy for me to uh, build the flow for essay. So I would recommend you to start from day one itself to write an essay, get evaluated, keep writing essay, because when you keep writing, you will automatically get used to it. So keep writing essays along. And then optionals. Choosing an optional is very essential. Many people tend to choose their graduation itself. People who are aware about this exam, who are very much keen in getting the service in the first 1 or 2 years, they choose an optional. They use their graduation, which they try to continue. For example, options like sociology, options like political science and international relations, people take in their graduation degree itself. So they have written around some 6 semesters already. So they're going to continue the same. For me, my optional was geography. The reason why I took is, one is the familiarity of the subject. When I took the syllabus, I was able to relate something which I read in my school. And second is, since my graduation was civil engineering, you have to deal with a lot of geographical concepts like disaster management, like earth movement, and then we have to go for soil. So you have to study a lot about soil, geology. These kind of things were very familiar for me only in geography. So that's the reason why I took geography. And the first thing I did was to talk to a topper. Like, listen to a topper, because I went through YouTube videos of toppers of that particular year, what they were, why did they choose optional. And third is, my optional overlaps a lot with my GS, so it will ultimately bring my burden in preparing for GS. For example, GS1 you have geography, GS3 you have environment and disaster management, and in essay you can use this as well. So that is the reason why I thought, okay, geography will help me in completing this exam on a whole rather than just completing the optional. So that is the reason why I took geography. I didn't, as I mentioned earlier, with respect to coaching, I went. But the main thing with any optional is analyzing the previous year question. If you see the previous year questions of mains and prelims, it won't be that much significant as how it looks for optional, because if you're going to cover the last 20 years of questions that were asked in optional, you will ultimately complete around 50% of your syllabus. For example, in geography, what I did was I went through the syllabus, I went through previous year questions. There are a lot of questions which keeps on get repeated. Year after year, they keep asking that particular topic alone in geography. So what I did is, okay, if I'm going to study the previous year questions, I'm ultimately completing this syllabus. So what I used to do is I used to take notes of topics that were asked in previous year. I used to create write answers the same for the same. I used to do answer writing practice. This helped me in completing the syllabus. They helped me in forming a strategy which I can use for writing answers. At the same time, it reduced a lot of burden. Like, because this, if you're going to read and then you're going to look into previous year question, you're going to be clueless. But if you're going to look at the previous year question and then you're going to study, it will be very easy for you. The time taken will be very less. And with respect to note making, it is very essential for optionals, because this is a two paper. You are going to write for 500 marks. Revision is very essential. You have to you'll be having around a week. In the mains, actual mains, you'll be having a week. So at that point of time, you need resources for revision. The syllabus is vast. So what you have to do is take every particular note and revise. If you're going to ask me if there are any people who are interested in taking geography as your optional, I would suggest the paper. Like, if you compare last 6 years, the last 2023 paper was a much on an easier side. But irrespective of whether it is easy or tough, people are clearing. People are getting good marks. In this attempt also, I've got 278, which is a reasonably very good mark in geography. And then in geography, what you can do is you can incorporate a lot of current affairs, climate change issues, daily issues, because in paper two, it is about Indian geography. Whatever is happening in India, you can incorporate them in the paper. For example, the Delhi floods. In the last mains, I mentioned about the Delhi floods. I mentioned about the less snow in Himalayas. I mentioned about the erratic nature of monsoon. I mentioned about the El Nino, La Nina. Everything which is happening for India, you can incorporate the same in optional papers. That is the importance of geography as an option. And then let me conclude this with my interview preparation. My interview was on April 2nd, so I had around 3 months to prepare. I gave a lot of mocks. I went through some 6 to 7 mocks and a lot of one-on-one discussions. And one important thing about interview is your interview preparation is not confined to that particular period after mains. Your daily life, what is happening to you, what are you doing on a daily basis. If you're going to be very clear about it and you're going to incorporate the same in your detailed application form, which you're going to fill for your interview process will be very easy. If you're going to create some artificial concepts to fill in your DAF, and then one is the interviewer will identify, okay, this guy has cooked up something for the sake of DAF. Second is, if they're going to ask you questions on this same, it's going to be very tough for you to even face such questions or face sub questions, because they have their mobile phones with them, they have laptops in front of them. Just need to Google it and they will ask you a random question. That is possibility. I'm not saying that happens, but that is a possibility. So your interview preparation starts from your day-to-day life. What is your interest? So those kind of things will help you in the interview. My interview was based on my DAF, based on my optional and current affairs, like last 1 or 2 weeks, what happened, what is the issue, what is the solution. They try to have a normal conversation with them. So the interview preparation is based on your character, not what you know or what you, it is about more about what you are. So I guess I have almost covered my strategy as well as a lot of issues that are present in the preparation which I faced as well. Like, if you want to talk much. One thing I need to mention here is my usage of social media during the preparation. Since it is a 4-year journey, I would say, like, I was not completely away from social media, but you have to know what needs to be done, because using social media like Facebook and Instagram is going to be useless. And for communication perspective, we have Telegrams, you have WhatsApp, that's your choice. But one thing is Twitter. For me, Twitter was an essential component in this preparation strategy, because in Twitter, what happens is every ministries in the government of India as well as in your own state, they give a press release, and this press release is released in Twitter. And based on this press release, there are a lot of opinions which are being formed. Who are these people who are giving opinions? Are nothing but the authors who you see in the newspapers, in the magazines, or the retired bureaucrats. Like I remember, like a lot of people, like retired IAS officers like Anil Swarup, IPS officers like RK, which these kind of so people like them, they give a lot of insights about issues that is happening on a daily basis. They give recommendations in Twitter. So if you're going to use your Twitter in a right way, by following international institutions, by following national institutions, by following ministries official Twitter accounts, and these retired bureaucrats who are contributing in academia, so these kind of informations will help you enrich your usage of Twitter. So I for me, enriching my answer writing, Twitter was an essential part for me in that. So I would say Twitter was a part of my current affairs preparation as well. And then in general, I would say staying away from social media will help you in limiting your opinion, because you can't be very much opinionated. You have to take a neutral stand. That is what UPSC is expecting. So if you want to be very much don't want to be opinionated, I would say, like, limit the usage of social media. And newspaper reading is very essential throughout the last 4 years, rather than just for preparing for exam. Newspaper reading gives you a lot of perspectives. It gives you first hand information. It gives a detailed information at this some point of times. And also it helps you to provide lot of data, like what is the GDP of particular sector, what is the one particular sector is contributing something to GDP. So these kind of information will help you, and the newspaper reading will help you. So I guess that's it. From since this is my journey has been very like for 4 years. A lot of things which I had mentioned, I didn't do it in 1 year or like 6 months. It for me it took around 2 to 3 months for understanding the syllabus itself. So I would say we may not be in the same boat, but you can learn a lot from the mistakes which I have did. So I would conclude my strategy, and I will like interested in taking some questions now. So for freshers, if you're going to see the previous year questions, first don't take it as a subject wise. For example, if you're going to take history, see what are the topics that UPSC is asking. Because if you're going to take history is vast, but UPSC tends to ask a lot of repeated questions. For example, Buddhism, Jainism, and then they might also ask some socio-economic factors like coins. About coins, they might keep on asking about time period. Sometimes UPSC ask who is the contemporary of who. And then art and culture, like what is this architecture, what is this art. So you have to identify themes, because this will help for a fresher. This will help you kickstart your process. Okay, UPSC is asking these kind of questions, so I have to go and look into them. Second is try to see the options as well. How is UPSC asking? Because this identifying the options, identifying the what is UPSC asking will help you in enriching your elimination technique. Then for respect to environment, I'm with respect to notes making, just generally for any subject, you can go for it subject wise. Have a For every subject have a individual note, and then you have to make notes in such a way that which you can revise. For example, if you're going to make extensive notes and if you're not able to revise in the last moment, the note is going to not going to help you. And then with respect to studying, make sure that you will be able to reproduce the content in 150 words. if you're going to write any particular topic, if you're going to read it, if you're going to have a lot of content and you can't comprehend, it is useless. So any note making, any revision, any notes or any material should be in such a way that it should help you to uh, write that particular concept in 150 words or 250 words. That's it. Approaches for reading NCERT. Just go and read, like, don't read it line by line. See what is there, what is it like. Most of the times it used to be some discussion kind of thing. So just keep reading words, sentence by sentence. You can, for example, history and all. There are a lot of things being mentioned. If you take R.S. Sharma or Satish Chandra's NCERT, there are a lot of information that is being given. But what I will recommend you to is to underline certain important which you feel important. First, use a pencil and underline. You will, once you complete the one particular book, take the previous year questions or go and give a particular tests. There are a lot of tests available in Telegram itself. So then what you do is, okay, I am not able to solve this question. What is lacking? Then go back to the NCERT. See what you have underlined. Then you will start to identify which is important, which is not important, and then take your pen and underline those topics those lines which you feel as important. For example, reading NCERT, take Indus Valley Civilization. In Indus Valley Civilization, everything is not needed, but you have to observe certain lines in NCERT which you will find it in a previous year question. So this is how we have to start reading NCERT. Reading NCERT alone is not recommended. You have to substantiate, like you have to compare it with the previous year question and read. With respect to choosing optional, I have mentioned already. One, you can go with your experience in your graduation. If you're not comfortable with your graduation, don't look into what topper is doing, because topper has not selected his optional based on what his previous topper has done. He has chosen his optional based on which he can complete it in time and availability of resources. So you have to identify what is the resources you can approach. At the same time, you need to complete the optional. That is very essential, because a lot of options are very resource, like the resources might, you might not find resources that easy, or sometimes you will be misguided. So one thing is which is you are comfortable, and maximizing your mark. That are the only two things you need to focus on while uh, choosing an optional. With respect to consistency while studying, uh, please have this in mind, because this is a very long process. Some people might do it in 1 year, some might do it in a couple of years. For me, it has taken 4.5 years. For some other people, it will take some 6 years as well. So doing it on a daily process, it's not just about clearing this examination. You will become completely a different person by learning a lot of things. There you will see a significant difference between you and your college mate, because they might see a particular thing in a different manner, but you will understand the issue that is happening, and you might give a lot of inputs to them. So this is not just about examination. Have that clarity of thought in your mind, and it will motivate you to study a lot. At the same time, clearing these examinations is essential. It will help you once you have given, if you are true to your effort, it will pay you. Prelims, if you're going to give prelims this year, I would say you should be giving mocks by now. I'm not sure people who are here are not going to give prelims, I guess, because if you're going to give prelims, just focus on the process you have did so far. Don't try anything new. Just keep sticking to the notes and the papers that you have solved so far. Don't go for anything new. Don't try anything new, and then just keep going with it. That's it. Don't try anything new, and go for previous year questions as well, as I mentioned earlier. For someone who's going to give prelims in next year, start preparing. You have a 1 more year. Start giving sectional test, analyze them, form a strategy. Which is your favorite subject, where you're going to attend more. So these kind of strategy you have to be framing by September. From December, start preparing for CSAT. Don't take CSAT in a like lower manner. Prepare for CSAT. With respect to current affairs, my basic approach was reading newspaper and watching newspaper analysis. The YouTube's in YouTube, you tend to come across a lot of newspaper analysis. What they do is they take a particular news and they connect that particular news with the static part. So that helps you to. I'm not saying you need to do it throughout your preparation. If you're a beginner and you're going to read newspaper fresh, just keep doing this for a couple of days, a couple of months. In the third month, automatically your mind will go, okay, this current affairs is there. This is happening because some static is there. Then you go and make notes. What I would recommend you to make notes is, don't take it in a book. Take it in an A4 sheet. That's when you will keep you will be able to add information in future. So because current affairs is not going, it's not a one day process. It's going to keep on happening. So if you're going to make one note now, make it in a A4 sheet and then give some space. Another in couple of months, there will be a development. Keep adding it. And if you're going to read a static part, read the static part and take this newspaper and study them as such. Take this particular paper where your notes are there and then read them simultaneously. This will help you essentially in polity and economy a lot, linking current affairs with static part. Okay, I guess that's it. I guess because the time has already been 1 hour, more than 1 hour. So if you have any doubts, ask it in comments or I will end the stream. Okay, I feel that's it. So I will thank you guys. All the best for your exams, whether you're giving this attempt or next year. Keep studying and keep working. Thanks.